Good evening, everyone. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. Yeah? Great. Feeling refreshed? Ready to dive into today's session? Wonderful. So welcome again and great to see you all here today. But I cannot see everyone on the camera. Very few people. Can you all put on your cameras, please? Wonderful. I can see Ravi. So let me tell you, I was completely off for the past almost a week now after my last session because of my ill health. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to put in my 100% energy. And I'll draw that energy from you all. Okay? For that, I need to see you on camera. I need to see your reaction. I need to see your responses. So are you all ready to give me the energy for today's session? You all don't want today's session to be boring, right? Wonderful. Great. Okay? So let's start. I want to know before we start, now since we are back from a weekend, I want you all to describe how was your weekend in one word. I'll give you the hints, don't worry. No need to unmute or anything. Are you feeling relaxed? Are you feeling more productive? Energetic? Are you feeling lazy? No, right? Okay, some of you maybe. Okay. So what we'll do is, and we'll channelize these energies, whatever we've just, described it in one word, and we'll put that energy into today's session. Okay. And what we are going to do is, we're going to learn how to break through the barriers in leadership by channelizing our own energy. Okay. And we're going to push ourselves further as leaders. All in? Everyone with me? Great. Super. So we all know that, right? That we always tend to manage our tasks, manage our work, right? Day-to-day activities, day-to-day tasks at work, right? Leading our team, checking off the checklist, to-do list, correct? But do you also feel something which is missing? Something feels like incomplete? Yes or no? Sometimes, at times, most of the times, most likely, right? Now, what if that missing element is not in just how you manage? It's also about how you lead. When you understand this gap, you will be able to better address the issue, that missing link, which you feel, right? Something is missing, something is incomplete. So that is this missing link, this missing gap. So in a previous session, we touched upon a bit of it, right? Our last session was all about secrets to leading. How many of you remember that? Yeah. We explored some essential shifts from moving from managing tasks to leading people. We talked about transitioning from commanding to empowering, from problem solving to coaching, from being task-oriented to being vision-oriented, right? We also discussed some practical ways to delegate ownership, right? Ask more questions, fewer answers to your team, connect with your team, connect your team with the task, with the larger vision, big picture, right? So today we are going a little more ahead of what we discussed in the previous session, is understanding the barriers that keep us from fully embracing the leadership, and also understand how to break them. Yes? So many leaders, many leaders today in the corporate environment face this challenge. We are too much focused on deliverables. We are too much focused on deadlines. We are too much focused on day-to-day operations, right? But what we are missing is on understanding the deeper aspects of leadership. And we are going to understand these barriers today. Now, these barriers could be, it could be rooted in your mindset. It could be rooted in your communication. It could be rooted in your, it could be your team dynamics. Our potential as leaders is somewhere becoming invisible because of these barriers, right? Now, first of all, to truly break through these barriers, we need to understand, we need to recognize, and only then we'll be able to overcome this, right? These invisible obstacles. So let's understand what are these obstacles first. Is the control trap. Now, what do we understand by the control trap? As leaders, we often feel the need to control every aspect of, for example, if you're managing a project or any work, right? You feel the need to control every aspect of that project to ensure that it's run smoothly, to ensure that the project is a successful project, right? Now, whatever that project is, whatever that task is, right? You ensure that it is successful, right? And leaders, we tend to have that complete control. But you know what happens? This leads to micromanagement. And as a result of this, there is less of creativity. There is less of trust within your team. A Forbes 2023 report highlighted this, that 45% of employees cited micromanagement as the top reason for leaving their jobs. As leaders, if you fail to trust your teams, you end up taking on more work, burnout, and also your team is disengaged with you. Right? Barrier number 2, fear of failure. Fear of failure. With we climbing up the ladder into higher positions, into the leadership position, into the next position, the next level, there often comes a fear of failure. Why? Because we fear of making mistakes. Right? There is always this risk of making mistakes. So what happens? We stick to the safe we stick to the comfortable, right? We tend to do what is more comfortable, what we are more good at, right? Rather than taking risk of doing something which is out of our comfort, which is out of our appetite. Correct? Our risk-taking appetite is very low. And because of which, there is lack of innovation. Let me give you an example here. Elon Musk, his approach at SpaceX. What he does there is he openly embraces failure, understanding that it's part of the innovation process. So you put in your creativity, you put in your innovation and let it fail. It's absolutely fine. But at least that will lead to more of innovation. And as leaders, we have to try this approach. I'm not saying that you encourage your team to do everything that's kind of, putting everything as garbage and, but then you have to give them that sense of empowerment, right? So what we learn from Elon Musk is accepting and learning from multiple failed attempts. That's how he was able to achieve the groundbreaking reusable rocket technology. If you've heard of it. If not, then please go and read about it. Right? Barrier number 3, emotional detachment. Now, who is this emotional detachment with? Is it with yourself? No, right? As leaders, you have to maintain emotional distance. As leaders, what we think is we have to maintain that emotional distance from our teams, right? You always think that, right? If we have that emotional attachment, then the work will get hampered. People tend to take us for granted, right? They will not take the work seriously. We will not have control over them. Correct? So as leaders, we always maintain that emotional distance from our teams, believing that it's the professional thing to do. But this lack of connection creates barriers to trust and engagement from your team. Harvard Business Review found that leaders who practice empathy, right? Empathy, understanding from the other person's perspective, right? Stepping into their shoes. Leaders who practiced empathy saw 30% increase in team engagement and collaboration. When as leaders you show genuine care for your team members, they will break down all the walls to show you and build that loyalty with you. How many of you agree with this? Right? So let's break that barrier that as leaders, we have to keep that distance, emotional distance with our teams. I'll give you this one more example of this. New Zealand's Prime Minister, if you all know, Jacinda Ardern, right? The past Prime Minister of New Zealand. She broke all traditional leadership barriers during the pandemic. Now, what she did, she didn't focus on just managing the task. She led with empathy. She led with trust. What she used to do is she used to go live on Facebook during the pandemic time, right? Meeting people was not the option that time, right? So the only option was to go live on Facebook, where she connected with her people from her home. She displayed vulnerability. She broke the barrier of emotional detachment. And that allowed her to build trust nationwide among the people of a nation during that time of pandemic. People felt they were part of the solution because she used to discuss openly with them every day when she used to go live on Facebook. Right? She broke that wall between her and the people. She was transparent in her decisions. She was, very transparent in admitting that not all decisions would be perfect. And this openness decreased the fear of failure. And that created that space of trust with the people of a nation and made her one of the powerful prime minister then. Right? We all know about New Zealand's story, right? They were the first amongst most, all of the countries, I think, during the pandemic to come out of the pandemic soon and quickly. I think it was under her leadership. Right? So how do we break down these leadership barriers? Right? So there is no rocket science, but we need to understand the nitty-gritties here. You need to delegate with empowerment. We already spoke about this in our previous session also, but it's important, right? When I say that one of the prime barriers is the control trap, right? As leaders, we always feel that we have to have control over our team. But no, learn to delegate with empowerment, not a control delegation, right? When leaders empower their teams, you foster that innovation, you foster that ownership amongst your team members, amongst your people, rather than micromanaging. So delegate with empowerment, not with that control mindset. No control delegation. Delegate with empowerment. In 2022, there was a study by Deloitte that found that organizations where leaders empowered their employees experienced a 17% increase in innovation. Leaders who delegate with trust see their teams flourish very creatively. They come up with a lot of good ideas. When you empower your team, you delegate it with empowerment, the person feels that he's contributing to a bigger mission, to a bigger picture, right? Strategy number 2 is create psychological safety. Now, this, according to me, is most important. Why? When team feels psychologically safe, they're willing to take risk. They're willing to voice out their opinion. And as leaders, if you're able to create this environment, you'll see how it is taking you as a leader to the next level. It's taking your team towards a better success story, towards achieving that results that you are looking to achieve as a leader. So create that psychological safety. When people feel safe to make mistakes, they come up with a lot more innovative ideas. If you don't encourage them, if you don't create that psychological safety, they will always fear to take that risk. They will always fear to take that step ahead. Yes? Strategy number 3. As I said, encourage failure. Failure is a part of the learning process. And we all understand that, right? You always learn, right? When you learn, when you have that intention of learning, you deliver your best, right? You have to create that culture of experimentation. You have to create that culture of creativity within your team. You cannot just have that attitude of give it to me right in the first place, right? So as a leader, you need to have that mindset of embracing failure, encouraging failure, because that's the part of the process. Now, we've understood what the barriers are. We understood what can we do, what could be the strategies that we can start adapting, right? One by one. But I want to share a very powerful story as we're discussing about breaking barriers in leadership. It's impossible not to reflect on this recent moment that has touched many of us. The world mourns the loss of Ratan Tata, right? A true titan of leadership. And his passing marked the end of an era. But his legacy, his story, remains a very powerful guide for all of us who are seeking to break through our own barriers, right? His leadership was not just about managing tasks or overseeing his massive business empire. He embodied the essence of leadership. And that essence of his leadership, it was beyond the numbers, it was beyond the deadlines, it was beyond the deliverables. He led with vision, he led with empathy, he led with trust. And these are the qualities that we discussed today. Right? He wasn't afraid to take risk, even when the stakes were so high. We can talk about that bold acquisition that he did of Jaguar Land Rover. Right? We all have read about it, right? We all have gone through that story of his. A decision many thought which was a mistake at that point of time. But his fearless embrace of uncertainty and his belief in possibilities beyond the ordinary, right, made it a very big success. It made it a global success. And this is the profound lesson in breaking of fear, the barrier of fear. The fear that many of us are holding on to us when we are stepping onto the leadership role, when we are leading our team, when we are leading that project, right? when we are leading that assignment. And he didn't stop there. His leadership style was never about control or emotional detachment, because he trusted his people. He cared for them very deeply. He visited the families of his employees, right? The classic example was during the 9/11, that 26/11, right? Incident that happened. And he broke through the barrier of emotional detachment, demonstrating that leadership is all about human connection. But what we do today is the opposite of it. Yeah. So leadership is about building bridges, not walls, between you and your team. It's about leading people, not just managing tasks. And as we reflect on his remarkable life, I want you all to ask yourself, what barriers are holding you back from becoming the leader you are destined to be? Today, you have the chance to break through those barriers, whether it's fear of failure, whether it's that urge to control every small detail, or whether it's emotional detachment with the people. Take that first step. Become the leader who empowers, who inspires, who transforms. Be bold, be compassionate. Be the leader that Sir Ratan Tata exemplified. Let's break through those barriers together. Right? The leadership, the lessons that we learned today from, be it Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern or be it from late Ratan Tata. I want you to understand what is stopping you or what are your barriers and work on that very aspect from today. Right? So what are the key takeaways? That leadership is not about controlling every detail. It's about empowering others to step up. Right? Building that psychological safety, embracing that failure, which will help your team to understand their true potential and come up with more creation and more innovation. Show empathy, show trust, because these are very critical to breaking that invisible barriers of leadership. Action steps. Maybe in your next project that you take or that you have in hand. Delegate not just task, but ownership to your team. Create a space where your team feels comfortable taking risk and learning from their mistakes. And build that emotional connection with your team by showing genuine care and empathy. I repeat this line once again, which was said by Simon Sinek. Leadership is not about being in charge. It's about taking care of those in your charge. Yeah. So think about one leadership barrier that you've recognized today in your leadership style, right? And commit to breaking it starting from today. Yeah. Everyone ready to take that first step, starting from today? Great. Wonderful. So I hope I tried to give some energy, right? Even though I wasn't at my best, I do understand because of my ill health. But yes, next time with more energy, of course. Yeah. But until then, take the lessons, what you've learned today, and start working on it. Yes. Super. So tomorrow we have another session by none other than 𝐻𝐭𝐨𝐧𝐝, and he talks about articulate your value. I'm sure, again, it will be powered by AI, of course, in his own style, right? In his own storytelling style. So don't miss this again tomorrow, sharp at 8 p.m., but be there before time. Yes? If you are a first-time joiner, please join the WhatsApp group because that's where you'll get the session updates. Join the Facebook group for cheat sheets and session documents that will be uploaded on Facebook. So be part of the Facebook group as well. And here is the LinkedIn post about tomorrow's session. I want you all to circulate this within your circle and invite more and more people to attend the sessions, 30-minute sessions that we do every day. All right. I can see some known faces who are regular, very regular. I really appreciate your commitment towards your learning, your growth, your self-development, right? So wish you all the best. See you all tomorrow again for another powerful session. Yes? Great. Wonderful. Good night. Take care.